All right, so welcome again. Thank you all so much for joining me live on the YouTube channel, as well as those of you joining at stacyzant.com on the Facebook page at stacyzant.create. So we're going to jump right in. I am going to, with part one, show you how I'm going to utilize this technique that will be brought to the actual Bible in part two. We're going to utilize actually a page from the planner here. You'll see on my right, I'm gonna go ahead and have my seat here, but you'll see on the right that I am utilizing the planner, one of the planners in our Radiant Pearl collection, and it is actually the dotted page. I am not entirely sure if you're seeing, okay, I think yes, you're seeing everything here. And so I just wanted to angle it so that each of you who are watching from either of the platforms would be able to see exactly what it is that I'm utilizing in terms of the resources, and hopefully you can get a good view of the page. So this is just a dotted journal page, and this page, it's loose. You can take it out or put it in, and I just wanted to utilize something that I would be able to use later on as my example for when I go over into the actual Bible. And for that Bible journaling live, that particular process, I want to be perfect if I can get the broadcasting to cooperate. So first, I do want to take the time to read the scripture that will actually be portrayed and that we'll be doing a visualization for this week. So last week, the scripture was taken from Matthew 26. This week, it's going to be from the Gospel of Mark. And there are 4 different Gospels where this story is told. And, as we talked about in the tutorial video that is currently available on the YouTube channel, as well as on the blog, radiantpearlliving.com, with the post giving information, as well as the video showing step-by-step. And I can actually just quickly turn over to it here so you can see. But this particular page, as you can see, we utilize the stencil, where the stencil was actually just, and let me just get that here. So it was actually open so that you're able to do your painting on the inside. Now this time we're going to utilize white space by first putting the stencil down and then painting around the stencil so that the white space will be the perfume bottle, the alabaster box in the background. And then that will allow us to be able to utilize another method, another fabulous Bible journaling technique that allows you to focus and hone in on the scripture. And so that is what we're going to do when we bring it over to the scripture. But right now we're going to do the example on this loose dotted journal page. All right, so this is a scripture that we're going to take the time to journal about this week. And it is taken from Mark 14. It reads, "And being in Bethany in the house of Simon the leper, as he sat at meat, there came a woman having an alabaster box of ointment of spikenard, very precious." Here it goes, a great example. Very precious. And this particular, she break the box and poured it on his head. And there were some that had indignation within themselves and said, "Why was this waste of the ointment made? For it might have been sold for more than 300 pence and have been given to the poor." And they murmured against her. And Jesus said, "Let her alone. Why trouble ye her? She hath wrought a good work on me. For ye have the poor with you always, and whensoever ye will, ye may do them good. But me ye have not always. She hath done what she could. She is come aforehand to anoint my body to the burying. Verily I say unto you, wheresoever this gospel shall be preached throughout the whole world, this also that she hath done shall be spoken of for a memorial of her. So right there, you'll see that there are some differences, even with the details given, just very minor differences between what was pointed out in Matthew 26 versus Mark 14. And we'll go into details on that in part 2. But right now, what I want to concentrate on, as this is our trial run, so to speak, very first opportunity of us being able to stream live on all these different platforms. And I wanted to take the time to just show you a technique directly on the journal page before we bring it to the Bible. So let's jump right in. So this time, as last time, I utilized a smaller brush that had the water on the inside. So this is one of the ways and one of the tools that you can utilize. But I want to go ahead and use my water brush. I always love these flat water brushes that allows you to gather more paint and swipe it across larger surfaces. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to first take a watercolor page and place it underneath. And I really don't like that I can't see comments. I can't see who exactly is viewing this live. Oh, unless I peek around. Linda, thank you for joining, lovely. I don't know exactly what you're saying because I had to set it up in such a way that you'll be able to see the page that I'm working on. But we're going to work it out for next time when we do the part 2 so that I can see the comments, okay? All right. And if you all know of any recommendations as to any apps or broadcast tools that can be utilized so that I can only use one device and then have my other device to see comments, then feel free to leave that recommendation in the comments. Okay, thank you all so much. So we're gonna go right in. I'm using here a palette that has been used so many times before. And it is a palette that has all these glorious colors. I've used these at Bible journaling workshops. I've used them on my Bible journaling. I've had this, I would say maybe, this may be a newer one because I was going to say maybe 3 years, but the one that I've had for 3 years, I believe is a lot lower than this. But this was used at a recent Bible journaling craft session that we had at church for the children. So you'll see that all the colors are all over here. So I'm just going to go ahead and just utilize some colors, just, pick and choose. There's no particular reason for any of the colors. We just want to have a very colorful page and do our best to make sure that it doesn't seep under the stencil. That is why I utilized here the washi tape to tape it down. I'm not entirely sure if it's going to do the best all around, and that's why I'm going to go ahead and hold it down while I'm painting as well. I want to do that to prevent any sort of gathering underneath because we do want to have that white space. All right, you all know I love to have my rainbow going across, but I want to do something a little different with the way that we are going to go about painting this particular page. So there are different sort of block techniques that people utilize. So we're just gonna kind of play around with where we're placing some of our colors, make it a little fun and whimsical and different. So now we have our fully painted page. As you can see here, we were able to apply the colors all around on the pages. We used the paint palette that you saw in the previous portion of the video, as well as the gelatos. And so really enjoyed how this turned out as we worked on this live. on both mediums, on the Facebook page as well as the YouTube channel. And so now we're just going to pull it all together. And now that the paint has also dried, we are going to unveil and remove the actual perfume bottle. So you see there the example of how we used the stencil last week in Matthew. That was in Matthew 26. The same story is told, just a few minor tweaks and details in Mark 14. And so we wanted to utilize the same stencil that is provided on the blog radiantpearlliving.com for free, so that you'll have another way you can use this freebie and this stencil. And so you'll see that I just taped it down with the washi tape. And so that kept it secure so that we can have that white space to work with. For this technique, you want to just, get creative and add all your colors for the base and all around. And as we kind of pointed out, I wanted to give that kind of butterfly effect. It's almost like the perfume bottle has wings because it's something that is definitely taking flight and is representative of even this story, this woman, this Wonder Woman who has, in a way created waves as well as she's made history. And so it's carried on for generations to come. And, even in this generation, as we pointed out in the last video and tutorial that was made, that she actually went down in history as a woman who worshipped. So there's a lot we can learn from her. And even you'll see on the sides, wanted there to be more dimension on the page. So I did add some stamps, and the stamps that were used, great examples, I believe, of this scripture that talks about, God is within her, she will not fail. And that's a great reminder for us as well. That God is within us. We will not fail in our endeavors to worship the King in all that we do, with everything, that we offer back to Him, the fruits of our lips, the works of our hands. And so I just wanted to go ahead and remove that bottle there, that stencil, and just put it on the watercolor page for now. And a great reminder to us, that with everything that's going on around us, we can hone in and focus on what's important. And you'll see that I'm going to take the time now to write in what is important, what I want to pull my focus on, where this particular scripture is concerned. And I love that even the lines, is also indicative of of how that's something that stretches upward and downward. And we're looking towards God. And we have an area where we can get rid of the things that don't belong. God purifies and makes us whole. And so we do have to have an area for those things that are not of Him to be removed, and to have space so that we can grow and reach forward. So that stamp that I'm showing you there, that particular stamp, is what I used as another dimension and way to provide more background and more effect. And you can utilize any stamp that you may have that provides meaning or just brings another beautiful element to your page. I just had that on hand and found a way to make it work. Now we're going to letter the focal thought and what I wanted to bring forth on this particular example. As you can see previously, I wrote poured out anointed worship based on what the image represented, as well as that scripture that was being meditated upon. And so this time, because of the different effect and technique that we're using, and then the minor differences even in the scripture text, although it is the same story, we want to bring across what really stood out to us during that time of just really pondering on the message that God was speaking to our hearts. And so for me, I just wanted to write two words that represented where I am right now and how I aspire to continually, offer my worship this upcoming year, this state of being. And for that for me is fearless worship. So taking the time to letter fearless and then worship, wanted it to have a different angle, a different way of viewing, because a lot of times, even for that word and the example that this woman represented is that she was not afraid. We don't want to be afraid of what others around us may think or say when we desire and decide to give our best and give our all to Christ. And that will look different for each and every person because we're unique beings, created for unique purposes. And so once you know what that purpose is and who you're called to be, then you have nothing to be ashamed of. You have nothing to fear when you offer that back to God in worship. And so a lot of times we think worship is simply lifting our hands up, and of course that's a demonstration of worship, praising the Lord through song and lifting our voices in adoration and pouring out our hearts and and bowing down and kneeling down. There's so many different ways that we demonstrate our worship, but we can also worship in the simple act of being in what we do each and every day, the way that we work and give that back to God, and the way that we study and read and apply ourselves to our studies, even at school. And there's so many different ways that we are able to demonstrate our life of worship before the King. And so don't be fearful, be fearless. That for me is so important this year, not to be a man pleaser, but to be a God pleaser, and not to be afraid of what other people are saying or thinking because I'm not doing what they think I should be doing. But what is it that God is asking or calling and beckoning for me to do in this season that I'm in? So I want to encourage you to, if you have not already done so, you can make your way over to radiantpearlliving.com and get the stencils that are free for you to download. Last week, you'll see that we used this particular perfume bottle, and you have 4 different designs. So this week I wanted to use another design and show you another technique and a way that you can use that. And so of course this was just a practice run, part 1 of laying it out, the concept and idea on the dotted page, bullet page there in my planner. That's the Radiant Pearl planner. And so now we are ready to go. In Mark 14 there, I'm going to just put the stencil and have it laid out. You'll see that it's been sized for the smallest of journaling pages as well as for the largest ones. A great technique that you can get really creative with, add all of your colors and make it bright and beautiful in the background, and then draw your attention to that white space where you're able to have that focal point for your message. So thank you all so much for joining, and I'm looking forward to future lives with you all. Have a blessed one.